A place so isolated that life evolved in ways found nowhere else. A land so extraordinary it redefined how we see nature. But why did these islands become one of the most scientifically significant places on Earth? Welcome to the Galapagos Islands, a place so remote and biologically unique that it changed the course of science forever. It was here that Charles Darwin's observations led to one of the most groundbreaking theories of all time. But Galapagos is more than just history. It's a living experiment in evolution. What makes this place so special? Join us as we uncover the natural wonders, scientific impact, and conservation challenges of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Galapagos Islands lie in the eastern Pacific Ocean, about 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador. The archipelago consists of 127 islands, islets, and rocks, with 13 considered major islands and just 4 are inhabited: Santa Cruz, San Cristobal, Isabela, and Floriana. They are home to a small but growing population, with approximately 33,000 residents. Spanning a total land area of 8,010 square kilometers, the islands are surrounded by the Galapagos Marine Reserve, one of the largest protected marine areas on the planet, covering 133,000 square kilometers. The closest cities, Guayaquil and Quito, serve as departure points for visitors, with flights connecting to the islands daily. Most visitors arrive via flights that land at Seymour Airport on Baltra Island or San Cristobal Airport. From there, ferries, small boats, and flights connect the major islands. Unlike many destinations, Galapagos does not rely on cars. Most people get around by walking, cycling, taxis, or water taxis. Regulations limit motorized transport to reduce pollution and protect the fragile ecosystems. Each island has its own name, some reflecting Spanish origins, while others were given English names by British explorers. The name Galapagos comes from the Spanish word Galapago, which referred to a type of saddle. Early explorers named the islands after the distinctive shape of the giant tortoise shells, which resembled the saddles commonly used at the time. Over the years, different maps recorded variations of the name, but Galapagos remained the most widely recognized. Today, names like Isabela, Santa Cruz, and Santiago Island reflect both historical figures and geographical features. Their position along the equator creates a mix of tropical and temperate climates, shaping the diverse ecosystems that make these islands so unique. The archipelago's isolation has allowed species to evolve independently, resulting in an extraordinary level of endemism, with many plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth. The Galapagos Islands were formed by volcanic activity, with the Nazca tectonic plate creating a chain of islands over millions of years. Some volcanoes remain active, with recent eruptions on Isabela and other younger islands continuing to shape the rugged landscape. While these newer islands are barren and rocky, older ones such as San Cristobal have developed richer soils that support more diverse plant life. These geological differences directly influence the distribution of wildlife, as species adapt to the unique conditions of each island. The island's geological youth means their ecosystems are still evolving, making them an invaluable site for scientific study. Ocean currents play a vital role in shaping the island's climate and biodiversity. The cold Humboldt Current brings nutrient-rich waters, supporting an abundance of marine life, while the equatorial and Cromwell currents contribute to temperature regulation and rainfall patterns. These oceanic influences create one of the most productive marine ecosystems in the world. It remains one of the world's most extraordinary natural laboratories, where geology, climate, and biodiversity intersect in ways found nowhere else. The geographic isolation of the Galapagos Islands has shaped one of the most unique ecosystems on Earth. Since these islands were never connected to the mainland, Every species that arrived had to adapt to limited resources and specific environmental conditions, leading to distinct evolutionary paths. From barren volcanic fields to lush highlands, the diversity of habitats created different ecological niches, driving species differentiation. The islands remain one of the best places in the world to study evolution in action, offering direct insight into how species respond to environmental pressures. Of the approximately 5,000 animal species that inhabit the archipelago, approximately 2,000 are not found anywhere else on the planet. Galapagos giant tortoises are among the most iconic examples of adaptation. Their shell shapes evolved based on the terrain and vegetation of each island. On humid islands with abundant ground vegetation, tortoises developed domed shells, allowing them to graze easily. On drier islands, where food is scarcer and often located higher up, tortoises developed saddleback shells that enable them to stretch their necks to reach vegetation. The finches of Galapagos provide another extraordinary example of evolution in real time. The 13 species of finches found across the islands vary in beak shape and size, each adapted to different food sources. Some have thick, strong beaks designed for breaking hard seeds, while others have thin, pointed beaks for catching insects or extracting nectar from flowers. The Galapagos penguin is the only species of penguin found north of the equator, surviving in warm tropical conditions due to a series of unique adaptations. These birds rely on the cold waters of the Humboldt and Cromwell currents to regulate their body temperature. They seek shade in lava crevices and burrows to escape the heat, and they use behavioral adaptations such as panting and spreading their flippers to release excess body heat. Another remarkable species is the flightless cormorant, found only in the Galapagos. Unlike other cormorants, this bird has lost its ability to fly, instead developing powerful legs and webbed feet that make it an excellent swimmer. It forages for fish and crustaceans in coastal waters, relying on its streamlined body and strong diving abilities to hunt. The loss of flight is a rare evolutionary trait and is believed to have developed due to the lack of land predators in the islands. The marine iguana is yet another extraordinary example of adaptation. It is the only lizard in the world that swims and forages in the ocean, diving up to 10 meters below the surface to graze on algae. Its dark coloration helps it absorb heat quickly after emerging from cold waters. Its flattened tail allows for efficient swimming, and they have developed salt glands to expel excess salt ingested while feeding underwater. The waved albatross, which nests almost exclusively on Hispaniola Island, is another emblematic species of the archipelago. With a wingspan of over 2 meters, this bird is built for long-distance flight, gliding over ocean currents for months at a time. Its elaborate courtship dance involving synchronized head bobbing and beak fencing is one of the most spectacular mating rituals observed in the animal kingdom. Among the lesser-known but equally fascinating creatures is the lava lizard, a group of small reptiles that have evolved into different subspecies across the islands. Their coloration and size vary depending on the island they inhabit, allowing them to blend into their surroundings for protection from predators. The Galapagos fur seal, the smallest of the world's fur seals, is another unique mammal found in the islands. Unlike sea lions, these seals prefer rocky, shaded coastal areas and are more nocturnal in their activity. The waters surrounding the Galapagos Islands are just as extraordinary as their land, harboring an abundance of marine species found nowhere else on Earth. Among them is the Galapagos bullhead shark, a small bottom-dwelling species that thrives in rocky reefs and volcanic underwater landscapes. Unlike many sharks, it has a blunt head and powerful teeth adapted for crushing crustaceans and mollusks. Another unique inhabitant is the red-lipped batfish, a bizarre-looking fish with bright red lips and modified pectoral fins that allow it to walk along the ocean floor. Found in deeper waters, it primarily feeds on small crustaceans and fish, using its lure-like appendage to attract prey. The Galapagos marine ecosystem also supports large populations of endemic rays, including the spotted eagle ray and the golden cownose ray. These graceful creatures glide through the nutrient-rich waters, feeding on small fish and invertebrates. While the wildlife of Galapagos is often the focus, the island's plant life is equally fascinating and essential to their ecological balance. One of the most iconic endemic plant species is the Scalesia, often referred to as the Darwin's finch of the plant world, due to its rapid adaptive radiation. These daisy-like trees have evolved into multiple distinct species, each adapted to different elevations and environments. Some thrive in humid highlands, forming lush green forests, while others are found in drier regions, resembling shrubs. Their ability to colonize different ecological zones mirrors the evolutionary patterns seen in the archipelago's famous bird species. Another extraordinary plant species is the lava cactus, one of the first plants to colonize newly formed volcanic landscapes. Growing directly on barren lava fields, it thrives in some of the harshest conditions in the islands, withstanding intense heat and limited water. Its spiny structure reduces water loss, while its ability to absorb moisture from the air allows it to survive in arid environments. Over time, these pioneering plants pave the way for other vegetation to take root, helping to stabilize the soil and create conditions suitable for more complex plant communities. One of the most remarkable aspects of Galapagos wildlife is their lack of fear toward humans. Because the islands evolved without large land predators, many species never develop the instinct to flee from potential threats. Sea lions rest undisturbed on beaches, marine iguanas bask in the sun just inches from visitors, and blue-footed boobies nest in open areas without concern for human presence. This fearlessness creates an unparalleled wildlife experience for visitors, but also makes these animals vulnerable to human-introduced dangers, such as invasive predators and habitat destruction. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventures in the world's most incredible places. The Galapagos Islands were first recorded by Europeans in 1535, when Tomás de Berlanga, the Bishop of Panama, was sailing to Peru. His ship was carried off course by ocean currents, leading to the accidental discovery of the archipelago. Berlanga described the islands as barren and inhospitable, with little fresh water, but an abundance of giant tortoises and unusual wildlife. Early maps often omitted Galapagos due to its perceived lack of resources, and European powers largely ignored it for centuries. However, its remoteness made it a useful stop for sailors needing to replenish supplies, particularly those seeking to exploit its natural resources. By the 17th century, the islands became a haven for pirates seeking to escape Spanish naval forces. Their isolated location, hidden coves, and abundant wildlife made them an ideal refuge and a place to resupply. During the 18th and 19th centuries, whalers and seal hunters further exploited Galapagos, hunting thousands of giant tortoises to near extinction, as these animals could survive for months without food or water, making them a valuable resource for long sea voyages. Several colonization attempts were made but failed due to the harsh conditions, scarcity of fresh water, and isolation. In September 1835, the HMS Beagle, commanded by Captain Robert Fitzroy, arrived in Galapagos as part of a global surveying mission. On board was Charles Darwin, a young naturalist who spent 5 weeks exploring the islands. His observations and specimen collections would later contribute to his groundbreaking theory of evolution by natural selection. Between 1946 and 1959, Isabella housed a penal colony established by the Ecuadorian government, where prisoners were subjected to harsh conditions and forced labor, constructing a massive stone wall for no apparent purpose other than punishment, the Wall of Tears. It was eventually abandoned in 1959, the same year that 97% of the Galapagos Islands were declared a national park, signaling a shift from human exploitation to conservation. In the 20th century, researchers continued Darwin's work, using modern genetics to further understand species evolution. Today, the Galapagos Islands remain one of the most scientifically significant places on Earth, offering invaluable insights into evolution, adaptation, and conservation. It is impossible to talk about the Galapagos Islands without mentioning Charles Darwin. His time in the archipelago not only changed his life, but revolutionized our understanding of the natural world. Darwin's journey to the Galapagos Islands would become one of the most influential expeditions in the history of science. His first landing was on San Cristobal, where he collected finches, noting slight differences between them but failing to recognize their full significance at the time. Moving on to Floriana, he encountered settlers who casually mentioned that tortoises from different islands had distinct shell shapes. This offhand remark piqued his curiosity. Why would animals of the same species vary between islands? On Isabella, he observed variations in cacti and tortoises, reinforcing the idea that environmental differences shaped species. Santiago provided even more revelations as he studied marine iguanas, the only known lizards that forage in the ocean, and land birds that exhibited subtle but notable differences from island to island. Despite gathering this invaluable data, Darwin did not immediately grasp the broader implications of his findings. He meticulously recorded his observations, but remained uncertain about their true meaning. Upon returning to England, he turned to ornithologist John Gould, who helped classify his bird specimens. Gould's analysis revealed that Darwin's finches were not just different varieties, but entirely separate species, each uniquely adapted to their island environment. This realization was a turning point. Darwin began to formulate his revolutionary idea. Species were not static. They changed over time in response to their surroundings. Over the next 2 decades, Darwin refined his theory, collecting additional evidence from breeding experiments and correspondence with other scientists. He hesitated to publish, knowing the controversial nature of his ideas, but when Alfred Russel Wallace independently arrived at a similar conclusion, Darwin was forced to act. In 1859, he published On the Origin of Species, a groundbreaking work that forever changed the way humans understand life on Earth. Darwin never returned to the Galapagos, but the islands remained central to his legacy. His work transformed biology, paleontology, and genetics, proving that species evolve through natural selection, where only those best suited to their environment survive and pass on their traits. Today, the Galapagos Islands continue to be a living laboratory of evolution, where scientists observe the very processes Darwin described, reaffirming his discoveries nearly 2 centuries later. The Galapagos Islands offer an unparalleled blend of adventure, wildlife, and conservation, making them one of the most extraordinary travel destinations in the world. Each island has its own unique landscapes, ecosystems, and attractions, ensuring that visitors experience the full spectrum of what this archipelago has to offer. Santa Cruz, the most developed island, serves as a hub for both tourism and scientific research. It is home to the Charles Darwin Research Station, where conservation efforts focus on the protection of the giant tortoise, one of Galapagos' most emblematic species. Nearby, the lush highlands of El Chato Reserve allow visitors to see these tortoises roaming freely in their natural habitat. The island also features striking volcanic formations, such as the lava tunnels, and breathtaking coastal sites like Tortuga Bay, where white sands and turquoise waters provide a haven for marine iguanas, reef sharks, and kayakers. The town of Puerto Ayora offers a mix of local culture, markets, and eco-lodges, making it a base for many island excursions. Isabella, the largest island in the archipelago, is defined by its dramatic volcanic landscapes and diverse wildlife. The massive Sierra Negra volcano, one of the largest active craters in the world, dominates the island's interior, offering one of the most rewarding hikes in Galapagos. The lava tunnels of Los Túneles provide a surreal snorkeling experience, where visitors can swim alongside sea turtles, white-tip reef sharks, and seahorses. Historical remnants like the Wall of Tears, a somber reminder of the island's penal colony past, add another layer of depth to the island's story. The best way to explore Isabela is by hiking, cycling along its coastal paths, or venturing into its marine reserves for unparalleled underwater encounters. Fernandina remains one of the most untouched islands in the world, with no introduced species disrupting its pristine ecosystem. Punta Espinosa is a wildlife hotspot where marine iguanas bask on the volcanic rocks in massive colonies, sea lions play in the shallows, and the rare flightless cormorant can be seen drying its vestigial wings. The active La Cumbre volcano continues to shape the landscape, offering visitors a glimpse of the ongoing geological processes that define Galapagos. This island is a reminder of what an ecosystem looks like when left virtually undisturbed by human influence. Española, one of the oldest islands, is best known as the nesting site of the waved albatross. Punta Suarez, with its dramatic cliffs and crashing waves, is home to one of the largest seabird colonies in the archipelago. Gardner Bay, on the other hand, presents a more tranquil side of the island, with its pristine white beaches and crystal-clear waters filled with playful sea lions. One of the island's natural wonders is the blowhole, where seawater is forced through rock fissures, creating an impressive geyser-like effect. San Cristobal, the gateway to Galapagos, offers a mix of history, adventure, and wildlife encounters. The Interpretation Center provides insight into the history, conservation efforts, and ecological challenges faced by the islands. La Loberia, a secluded beach, is a perfect spot to observe sea lions in their natural habitat, while the famous Kicker Rock, or León Dormido, is one of the best diving and snorkeling locations, attracting hammerhead sharks and an array of marine life. With its excellent surfing spots, scenic hikes, and vibrant town, San Cristobal provides an ideal balance of exploration and relaxation. Genovesa, known as the Island of Birds, is a paradise for birdwatchers. Its remote location has allowed seabird populations to thrive, making it one of the best preserved avian habitats in Galapagos. Prince Philip's Steps lead to massive colonies of red-footed boobies and frigate birds, while Darwin Bay's waters provide an incredible snorkeling experience with rays, sharks, and diverse fish species. Beyond the islands themselves, Galapagos offers an array of activities beyond boat tours and snorkeling. Camping is allowed in certain designated areas, providing a more immersive experience in the island's remote environments. Cycling along Isabela's coastal paths offers a scenic way to explore beaches and lava fields, while paddleboarding and kayaking in locations like Tortuga Bay allow for quiet encounters with marine life. Galapagos experiences two distinct seasons, both of which shape the wildlife activity and visitor experience. From December to May, the warm and wet season brings higher temperatures, calmer seas, and increased rainfall, creating ideal conditions for snorkeling and wildlife breeding. This is the time when green sea turtles nest, marine iguanas become more vibrant, and sea lion pups can be seen playing along the shores. From June to November, the cool and dry season sees lower temperatures and nutrient-rich waters, attracting whales, sharks, and seabirds. The upwelling of the Humboldt Current during this time boosts marine productivity, making it the best season for spotting large schools of fish and migratory species. The Galapagos Islands offer an unmatched combination of adventure, conservation, and scientific discovery. The Galapagos Islands were among the first places in the world to be designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1978. This recognition was based on their extraordinary biodiversity, unique geological history, and vital role in evolutionary science. In 2001, the Galapagos Marine Reserve was also included in the UNESCO listing, highlighting the global importance of its marine ecosystems. The islands met 4 key UNESCO criteria for natural heritage: Criterion number 7. Contains superlative natural phenomena. The dramatic volcanic landscapes, crystal clear waters, and diverse ecosystems create a visually striking environment. Criterion number 8. Outstanding examples representing major stages of Earth's history. Galapagos is a prime example of island formation through volcanic activity, with the geological hotspot continuing to create new land masses over time. Criterion number 9. Outstanding examples significant ongoing ecological and biological processes. The isolation of the islands has driven unique evolutionary processes, making them one of the world's most valuable natural laboratories for studying adaptation. Criterion number 10. Contain the most important and significant natural habitats. The islands are home to a vast number of endemic species, many of which are endangered and rely on conservation efforts. Unlike many UNESCO sites recognized for cultural or historical significance, Galapagos stands out for its ecological and scientific importance. It remains one of the best preserved island ecosystems, offering invaluable insight into how species adapt to extreme conditions and environmental changes. Scientists have long used the islands as a model to understand evolutionary processes, particularly the adaptations that allow species to thrive in different ecological niches. The Galapagos Islands remain one of the most biologically significant places on Earth, yet they face growing threats from climate change, invasive species, and human activity. The Galapagos National Park plays a key role in enforcing environmental regulations, limiting visitor access to certain areas, and ensuring that tourism does not disrupt the natural behavior of wildlife. Despite these measures, increased tourism has created significant pressure on the islands. The expansion of hotels, restaurants, and transport services has raised concerns about habitat loss and carbon emissions. One of the most critical threats to Galapagos biodiversity is the introduction of invasive species. Rats, goats, and feral cats have devastated native wildlife, preying on endemic birds, tortoise hatchlings, and marine iguanas. Captive breeding programs for species like the Floriana mockingbird and Galapagos giant tortoise are also vital in reversing population declines. Climate change continues to disrupt the region's ecological stability. Rising ocean temperatures and frequent El Niño events reduce marine productivity, leading to food shortages for species like Galapagos penguins, sea lions, and seabirds. Coral bleaching caused by warmer waters damages marine habitats, affecting the entire food web. Illegal fishing is another major challenge. The demand for shark fins and sea cucumbers has led to overfishing, threatening keystone species that maintain marine ecosystem balance. International fishing fleets, primarily from China, have been a significant concern for the Galapagos Marine Reserve. To combat these illegal activities, Ecuador has expanded monitoring efforts, using drones and satellite tracking to detect unauthorized fishing vessels. Agreements with Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica have been established to create a marine protection corridor, aiming to restrict the movement of foreign fleets and safeguard critical breeding and feeding areas for marine species. While challenges remain, the ongoing efforts of researchers, conservationists, and local communities provide hope that Galapagos will continue to be a thriving ecological haven for generations to come. And that wraps up our journey through the extraordinary Galapagos Islands. From their role in shaping Darwin's theory of evolution to the incredible biodiversity and the conservation efforts working to protect them, these islands remain one of the most fascinating places on Earth. Join the conversation. Have you ever been to the Galapagos, or is it on your bucket list? What fascinates you the most about this unique ecosystem? What do you think is the biggest challenge in preserving it for future generations? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people discover this incredible story. Want to explore more UNESCO World Heritage sites? Check out our playlist for more breathtaking destinations filled with history, nature, and wonder. Subscribe for more adventures. There's so much more to discover, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. See you in the next video.